Hello everyone, myself Sumit Kumar Srivastava, and today we are going to discuss one of the topic from 11th physics chapter, that is viscosity. So now to understand the viscosity, let us consider a fluid flowing over a horizontal flat plate. This is multi-layer fluid. The bottom layer, which is in contact with the plate, will have zero velocity, and the topmost layer will have maximum velocity, and intermediate layer will have an intermediate velocity. Now, to maintain the flow of fluid in this horizontal plate, there must be an external force applying over it, or else what will going to happen? The internal friction between the layer will oppose the motion of this fluid, and definitely at the end the fluid will come to rest. So this internal friction between the layer is known as viscous force, and the property is known as viscosity. So you can clearly define viscosity is the property of fluid which resists the motion of the fluid. Now to understand it more clearly, let's take an example of four fluid. One is milk, second water, third oil, and fourth one is honey. So viscous force. Viscous force means the internal friction force between the layer. In this four fluid, viscous force will be higher for honey, and then oil, then milk, and last one is water. Viscous force is higher for honey, that means viscosity is higher for honey, then oil, then milk, and last water. Now viscosity is higher for honey, that means flow of fluid. Viscosity is higher for honey, that means flow of fluid will be lower for honey. The water will have higher viscosity, then milk, then oil, and last one is honey. So if viscosity is higher for any food, that means their flowing capacity will be lower. They are inversely proportional to each other. Viscosity and flow is inversely proportional to each other. If viscosity is high, that means their flow will be low. Now coming to the mathematical part. Let tau represent viscous force, that is internal friction force between the layer. A represent area of layer. dy represent change in velocity between the layer. Change in velocity. du represent change in velocity, and dy represent vertical distance. dy represent vertical distance between the layer, one layer to another layer. So overall, du by dy represent velocity gradient. Velocity gradient, that means change in velocity with respect to y. That means one layer to another layer velocity change. Overall, you can say that in bottom layer the velocity will be 0, In next layer, there will be some velocity. In this layer to another layer, the velocity will increase, and so this one. And this one is maximum. So this represent velocity gradient. Now, according to Newton's law of viscosity. Now, according to Newton's law of viscosity, tau is directly proportional to A into du by dy. If you want to write in equal to form, you can write tau is equal to mu A du by dy. Here mu is constant, and this constant is known as coefficient of viscosity. If you want to describe coefficient of viscosity, let us take A is equal to 1 and du by dy is equal to 1. Overall, what we are going to get? Tau is equal to mu. That means viscous force is equal to coefficient of viscosity. So you can clearly define coefficient of viscosity is nothing but viscous force between the layer having unit area and unit velocity gradient normal to the direction of flow. Okay. Now, if you want to define its unit for coefficient of viscosity, you can write this equation. You can write this equation in this form. Mu is equal to tau by A du by dy. We know that the unit for force, viscous force, that is, it is a force. The unit for force is Newton, and unit for area is meter square. Unit for velocity, meter per second, and for length, meter cancel. Overall, what we are going to get? Newton second per meter square. So this is the unit for coefficient of viscosity. Now, if you want to write its dimensional formula, you can also write mu is equal to, dimensional formula for force is mLT minus 2. Dimensional formula for area is L square. For velocity, dimensional formula is LT minus 1, and du by dy. Y is length, its dimensional formula is L. After cancelling L to L, this L to L, overall what we are going to get? M L minus 1 T minus 1. So this is the dimensional formula for coefficient of viscosity. So now in today's class, we understand what is viscosity, what is coefficient of viscosity, its unit and dimensional formula. So that's all for today. Thank you.